Need for Speed. It's a love-hate relationship. From the spectacular reboot of 2015 to the confused Need for Speed Payback. It almost feels like a back and forth, a swing one way for greatness and a swing the other way for what the hell are you doing? Which is why today we're going to look at a bunch of Need for Speed games and really figure out what is the worst one. You might be questioning, well, Theo, you've already got a few worst Need for Speed videos.
Why did you dislike this game? I mean, for the most part, the main reason I disliked it, it's called Most Wanted. This is not Most Wanted.
Most Wanted 2012, it's very high up the list, but it's still an enjoyable game. It has burnout elements, but some of them good, some of them not. Need for Speed. We could also talk about this game.
No, I took him out.
That is Need for Speed Shift, but it's on PSP. So of course, Most Wanted 2012, I said it has a redeeming feature. It's actually a really fun game, just not a Need for Speed game. This, however, it's just shit. I don't think I can say anything redeeming about that, right? We have this absolute banger on PSP, and so there's no excuse. Now, there was also Need for Speed The Run on Wii, which, once again, it has a redeeming feature in that the story is actually quite, it's weird as hell, but it's somewhat interesting. It was that comic book style, like Need for Speed Underground evolved, like Need for Speed Carbon Own the City. I actually wanted to know what was going to happen with the story. However, it was really, really cheesy. Oh no, it also had this. They like fire rockets at you. Again, creative, fun, different.
You suck.
Take him out. Boom. But like, let's be real, all of these games in common have a few situations, a few scenarios. Most Wanted 2012 was the first game by Criterion, and they tried, we know they did. Shift on PSP and Need for Speed The Run Wii, they're like cheap, small versions of games because of the fact the consoles couldn't run the big games. And so this video is gonna specifically focus on modern Need for Speed games, and the proper line of them too. First up, it's Need for Speed Payback. I know, I'm sure you kind of assumed this would be the case. Potential worst Need for Speed, but I wanted to jump up to the online section because this kind of highlights a huge problem with this game. So I am in what's called the All Drive Hangouts. They like to put a weird name on it. They could have just called it Free Roam. I don't know. Anyway, they called it All Drive Hangouts, and the weird thing about that is that we're not all driving. Especially this guy, he's just stood there. Now, what was amazing, I did join this lobby, and it was full. I've yet to have anyone back, so I wouldn't be surprised if right now only 4 people are playing this game. Okay, what's my big issue with this game? Other than the story and the characters and the... It's pretty, I guess it could be mostly nitpicky stuff. One of the big issues... Oh, hello. Did I get in your way there, sir? Very much apologize. I can't believe people are playing this damn game. Oh, and another thing I just noticed. This is nothing to do with it being bad, but I can see Mac's shoe. So in All Drive Hangouts, you can do jumps and get some points, which gives you a little bit of cash. You can drift around in free roam with traffic, do some speed traps. You can go to the customization shop and you can tune up your car. Oh, spicy. I can put some bits in. And then when you've put your bits in and you've done some more sliding around, that's it. That's the online in Need for Speed Payback. Now, this is something that they should have delayed the game for. Very much so. The game did not launch with online free roam. This was tacked on after the fact, which was such an odd move on their hand. I don't quite get it. And this game was literally the reason that Need for Speed Heat didn't get updates anymore. If you're confused, just 2 and 2 together, they were binned off because of this game. Ultimately, the performance of this game killed Ghost Games, which is wild because the reason Ghost Game was killed, not the performance in terms of sales, because the game actually sold decently well. It's a Need for Speed game. It goes on sale. It sells a lot. The problem with the game was the microtransactions. Do you think Ghost Games wanted the microtransactions? No. Who did? EA. They actually weren't even bad. What was bad was the Battlefield microtransactions. They both just happened to come out at the same time, so they got bundled together. They really didn't. You did not need to buy them. I promise you. As someone that hates the microtransactions in this game, you did not need to. It was so easy. The fact you even had to think about them was wild to me. The fact that they were in people's brains. So anyway, I like to say because of Battlefield, and they didn't want to close their baby or blame any... There has to be someone to blame when it comes to impressing shareholders or showing that you're reacting to an issue with the game. We lost Ghost instead of any of the Battlefield people. So the map was pretty bare. There was really nothing to explore. However, the drifting, that's understeering. The drifting itself was actually really good. Full-on arcade drifting, non-apologetic. It was enjoyable. There was a bit of control to be had. Some cars, if you tune them in a certain way, they could spin out. It was not difficult, but it knew what it wanted to be. I feel like Unbound, you're just kind of understeering pretty much most of the time. But because of the handling and because the fact that, well, it had a story still, it had good progression, the car sounds were all pretty good, and the balance of the online in the speed list that it did have from launch were actually pretty good, other than OP cars. But nonetheless, I still had fun with it, and I played quite a lot of the speed list in this game, probably more so than I did 2015. I don't think I could list this as the worst game. However, one that I could list as being a little bit worse than this game: Need for Speed No Limits. Need for Speed Limits based on your credit card that's tied to your account. Now, I've actually not played Need for Speed No Limits in a while, so shout out to this guy. We're checking out his video. But essentially, Need for Speed No Limits is possibly one of the worst modern Need for Speed games. Now, let me just, again, give it some praise. It came out in 2015 before Need for Speed 2015. So it gave us an idea of the theme that 2015 was going to take in customization, underground racing, tuning, upgrading, which was glorious, and it's what we wanted to see. Now, the gameplay itself is another story. The drifting, the physics, really the complete opposite of what I would want. There's no open world. I mean, again, it came out 2015. I don't know how many games actually had open world in 2015, but the Most Wanted 2012 game on mobile was actually better. So it was worse in that way, but the continuous content and the microtransactions, it's such a hit or miss game that it may possibly be the worst modern Need for Speed game. Something pretty cool though is that you can keep coming back to it, and it gives you rewards, and there's even like an ASAP. They actually update it with content so regularly because it makes so much money. But saying that, the studio behind it, Fire Monkeys, is being closed, just like Ghost was. So maybe it wasn't so good. However, it did have cops in it, which so did Rivals before it. They've even got ASAP Rocky in the mobile game. They really did put some work into this game, but unfortunately, yeah, it's still probably one of the worst. Now, I'm gonna say though, I think the next one's maybe a bit worse. Need for Speed Rivals. Hey, I just spawned! I've just spawned! Let me... How are the police after me already? Good God! Man, this game, I've got to be honest, it looks cracking to this day. I don't know if 2015 actually looks better. I think this game may look better in some situations. Every time I jump into this game is loud. The volume, it just peaks. Everything is peaked all the damn time. Guys, I've just spawned in. Help! Oh! Roadblock. Oh my God. It's just mayhem. Help! So the problem with this game, there's a lot of them. The cops, they just... I don't even know how to describe it. They have something... They want blood. The health system was introduced, which is rather annoying. However, it did make Heat, which is good game, so I'm gonna die straight away. It looks fantastic, but ultimately, the game had no proper story. The one that they added was... I didn't even know how to describe it other than absolutely shocking. It was ultimate cring. Get that repair, thank you very much. Now, the problem is, though, the Battle Royale-esque stuff is actually really fun. Like, I enjoy myself when I jump into this game. The handling is... it's drifting, it's brake to drift, there's no other option. However, it is predictable, stable, probably the most stable, predictable handling in modern Need for Speed games, which is kind of wild to say, but you know, we kind of fessed them up by saying, yeah, we don't want to drift all the time, and they were like, oh, let's now butcher the handling. 2015. The cops, so much better than 2015. I think actually probably now still the best cops, because Heats were good. However, they got nerfed, and so now these are the better cops of the modern Need for Speed. I feel like I'm just there's so much information to process to the point where I think all three of these games are pretty bad. But the fact is, this game is not really a game. It feels like a game mode for another title. It feels like death. It feels like Need for Speed Mobile in that it has a Battle Royale mode in it, but that's the game. That's all you get. Something that the developers keep doing is throwing things away, and they, you know, have the all drive and they get rid of the all drive and they split the single player and they split the multi. That's really frustrating, but this had all drive, and actually I miss it now that we're in Need for Speed Unbound, at least before the update. The update's not out when I'm filming this video. Yeah. Oh yeah, a ghost tattoo while playing this game. Please, no, this is not what I'm... So of the three games, what do I think is the worst? It's probably Need for Speed Rivals. Theme is a lot. It plays a massive part for me, and the theme of this game, compared to even No Limits tried. Yeah, please, just keep... off. I've had enough here. So anyway, that's my worst Need for Speed games of the modern times, the last decade, if you will. What is yours? Yours could be completely different. I'm very curious. Check out this video if you like Need for Speed but also hate it. Love-hate relationship. I can't... Smash like, subscribe, and peace.